Okay. Let me get out of this. I'm slow this morning. All right, let's see. Is it working? Okay, it is working. So Facebook is allowing us to broadcast. Thank you very much. Okay, let me see. Is Amanda in here? Let me see. Amanda, that's Amanda Lowe's. Hi, Amanda Lowe's. Let's see. I don't know if Amanda's in here. Oh, we're live on Facebook. So I'm going to take the opportunity while Amanda's coming in to share this. And if these shows resonate with you, if you're on Facebook, please share, because we're getting absolutely just totally suppressed by Facebook. And the universe and Solargy are currently working on a solution. Okay, so, and somebody let me know if Amanda's in here. I don't see her, but she'll be coming. There's a lot of people in the Zoom room, 45 people. Okay, we had 25 yesterday. I'm just waiting. Ingrid raised her hand. And I think she said, let me see. No, that's Maria Lang. Okay. So, Amanda Lawrence, are you in the house? Is Amanda Lawrence in the house? We will wait as long as we have to for her. Everything she does for everybody. Hello, everybody in Facebook. We're just waiting on Amanda Lawrence. Hello, Vera Ingeborg and Augusti. What's happening? We're about to follow in your energy and hit the road. We don't know where we're going, but, you know, you guys set the template. Okay, let's see if she's here. Yep, there she is. Okay. The little fairy has arrived. All right, hang on. Let me get my back support straight. Uh-oh, where'd she go? There she is. Hang on. And the sad thing is, I only really talk to my beloved sister. We're very close when we do a show. You know, isn't that crazy? Morgan, you should try Zoom on one of the computers. It'll work. Okay, so I pulled Amanda up. There she is on top of a hay bale. Asked to start video. Let's see. Okay, it'll take a second. It's the bandwidth. There she is. Oh, wait a minute. I just muted you. Wait, are you muted? Wait, let me do it. Okay, now we're good.
Hi, Todd.
What are you doing?
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Oh, we have a delay.
I can hear you.
Yeah, what's happening? What the hell's going on, man?
Is there much of a delay?
Wow.
If there's much of a delay,
I don't think so. It's on my end.
Over. Oh, okay. I'm just going to try.
No, it's on my end.
Wall, if that's all right.
Don't change.
Okay. I'm just going to try and stick this on my wall somehow. My brain's not working.
Go ahead. Where's the Zoom link? Yeah, there's no rush. Just mine's not either. I didn't take a shower. I didn't, do anything. I just got up, had some breakfast, and although I did scare Morgan, I ran outside naked. Yeah. Well, there's something about being naked out here, in this forest. You know, that it just gets in my blood or something. I don't know. So I like to go out there naked and scare her. She gets all freaked out. Like someone's going to see me out here in the middle of nowhere. Only these bears. Of course, if they see me naked, they might think I'm handsome and they want to eat me. Oh, okay.
Okay.
You there,
I'm here.
Amanda?
I'm
Uh-oh.
here. Yeah. Are you
Oh,
experiencing a
you are
time
there. Are you
delay with
laughing?
me? Well, I was,
What?
yeah, but I'm not now. Well, I am now, yeah.
Oh, okay. I
Are
didn't
you
mean to upset
experiencing a
you
time delay?
or
If you
anything.
are, if you're
You mean
experiencing a
on the?
time delay, I'll change my
You mean in my
Wi-Fi over.
day-to-day thing?
No, are you experiencing a time delay with
Yeah,
me
you
speaking and you
try to change
answering?
it. Yeah, because yeah, you're
Okay. Hold on. I
probably a
might have
little
to come
bit.
back in, Todd.
Probably a little bit.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
gonna swap it over.
go ahead.
I'll
That's
come
fine.
back in. I'm sorry
Yeah, we're
about
good.
this, everybody, but
Yeah,
it's not working otherwise. I'll come out and
it's
okay.
all good. There's no rush. Just keep on doing what you're doing. Let's see. All right, what do we got going on here today? Today it's Amanda. And tomorrow, Morgan and I are going to do a offline, which means it won't be broadcast, but it's online in the Zoom room, just a gathering of people to come in and just talk about their experiences and have, a Q&A. It's free. I put the post up on all our different pages and I'll put it up again. So you just come into the Zoom room and, everybody just, then it's not broadcast. And so you come in and just have a little gathering and see what comes up, see what happens. So everybody's invited. It's free. Just letting you know. All right. There she is. Let me get her back up here. Okay. All right. She's coming. There she is. There she blows. All right. Let me get this up. Okay. Yeah, we have a little bit of a delay, but that's okay. That's all right.
Okay, here we are again.
We've got quite a few people here. Yeah, we're good. We're good. I can't see you, but that's okay. We don't need to see you. It'll probably come in. There it is. What have you been doing? Oh my God. I feel bad because, I don't think people know how close we are. Like if you burp, I get it, or, that's not a good example. I'm still sleeping, but like if you're in pain, I feel it. If you're in pain, you feel it. It's weird.
Yeah.
And then you wrote something to Morgan the other day and it was like, what the hell? Everything you described, I was like, oh my God. Like she reread it to me a couple of days ago. And she's like, this is Amanda talking. This is what I'm getting. This is what I'm feeling. We're always pretty close. So I'm just giving you a heads up. I'm like, oh my God, we're right there, So yeah, I don't think people realize how tight we are. But like, what's cool and I love about my relationship with you, and probably some other people, but you is we don't talk all the time. Like,
no,
not that I don't want to, or you don't want to, but like we have our own lives and we can go like 3 or 4 weeks or even from a show to a show and not even talk to each other. And, it's like, there's no what insecurity, codependent frequency.
no.
I don't know. It's just real. And
no, it's a really good point to make, actually.
That's fantastic.
It's a really good point to make because that's where we're all headed, is to be more sentient and to pick up on each other without even speaking. And that's what Morgan and I and you did. I think it was this week. We had the same knowing, even though we hadn't got a clue. But we acted on it. But it's, it can be, and this is a good point to make for everybody, no matter their stage. is to allow, allow your friends and your family their space to integrate whatever they're going through, and not take offense that you haven't spoken to someone for a while. It is about that. It's not that there's anything wrong. It's just that we're each at different stages, and somebody could be really, really happy today, and somebody could really be going through it. And that's how it is, So it is about, being very sensitive to everybody, and having compassion for everybody. And it just grows and grows and grows, that sensitivity and compassion. There's a time when we won't want to speak because we're just going through our stuff. And then there's, we just pick up where we left off as if it was yesterday. And that's beautiful because it's not needy. There's no neediness. There's no attachment, but there's this love that is always there in every single moment.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that, that's right. I mean, it's like, like when we connect, it's always very impactful. And I don't know, man, it's like, it's new, but it's old. And I guess that we'll never get to oneness with 10 people or 20 people or 100 people until we start to do it one by one on one, two at a time, like me and you, or you and Morgan, or me and Morgan, or, you know what I mean? Like that's, that's like we're all twins. We were talking about that last night. Like ultimately we're all twins.
People are finding others that, they're connecting with, and there's lots of people out there that have got some beautiful relationships with each other. But it's the galactic timeline isn't that we're all feeling complete and utter oneness with each other. We know that's where it's headed, but it's not the reality of this timeline just yet. So we can know that's where we're going, but we're actually not there yet.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the time thing is kind of trippy, and let me try to pull this back down. But there was like something happened. I can't remember all the details, but something happened, and the way it kind of like, and this is like in the last 3 or 4 days, right? And it may have even coincided with the messages that y'all exchanged. But something, a lot of stuff was happening, but something happened, and I was and so there was another degree of awareness that was added that allowed me to say, okay, this is done. Like this thing that you're working on or whatever, it's already done. It's just, we're on this timeline. You're still like shifting off and on this timeline. So in other words, it relieved me like of a bunch of pressure, like, cause I know it's already done. It's like, I don't know, like the time thing, we've been talking about it since we've known each other, is leaving, but it's really leaving. Like it's really leaving. It's like, it's really not there, Yeah.
Yeah.
And space.
At the moment, I feel like I'm these two things. So I'm my human, and then I'm observing my human, and so it just feels like the one that's observing my human is in complete peace, knows the perfection of everything that every single being is going through, and but I'm observing from that. I'm observing my human that has been immersed in the dream and feeling those human emotions and the rawness. So it's like being two things at the moment. That's how it is. It's not that I'm one thing or the other. It's that I'm being both at once. So it's funny.
Yeah. No, you know, and let me ask you this. I know that on a personal level, you've been through a lot. I think everybody has that's digging. As you're digging and digging and digging, and these things keep
Yeah,
presenting themselves. Like
yeah.
even though even me and Morgan out here in the middle of nowhere for 4.5 weeks, it seems like 4 months, and we still go through our stuff. Like we still go through our stuff on an individual basis, yet we're cohabitating. It's really kind of weird. So I think everybody's pulling down these more opportunistic and powerful, potentially powerful experiences because they're you know they're clearing the space for it to happen.
It's
But
so
like
empowering.
the mhm, yeah, but like, have you felt like? I mean, I felt like tender and raw, like
Oh
like
yeah.
not like injured or maimed, but like, oh my God, I'm walking around like all gingerly and stuff. Like somebody just did a number on me or something. I don't know, you know, and I'm like almost like a dog that like got beat too much, but I'm not. I'm actually good, but I feel so tender and
Yeah.
raw and like
And there's
just
good reason.
exposed.
There's so much good reason for all of this, which I can go into the depths of it. But yeah, everybody, bearing in mind, one day I might feel tender and raw, and then the next day I'm rising from it. I'm feeling better.
Yeah.
But and somebody else might feel happy the day I'm feeling tender and raw. But the point is, we're all susceptible to the energy, the increase in electromagnetism. That's every single thing, whether it's a plant, a rock, is getting this energy and it's experiencing it from its own perception. So the rock will experience
Yeah.
it from that. And what's happening is the energy, the
Yeah.
vibration is rising. And for the human being, it feels, if you drop into it when you're feeling tender and raw and stop the thoughts, you'll feel the energy.
Yeah.
And it feels like this agitation going on inside you. And if you just stay with that, you'll see that it's just energy that we will then put a
Yeah.
definition to. We'll then define it. We'll then put a story on it and a sentence on it. But actually, what's happening is
Yeah.
it's energy given to your body that you're absorbing, and it takes time. It takes a few days to absorb it again and again and again. And once it's absorbed, each one's
Yeah.
vibration, because everything is
Yeah.
energy, rises. And as the energy of us rises, so our consciousness, so we can stream in to the higher vibration of consciousness, and then a bit more, and then a bit more, and that is the ascension, literally. But the timeline we're on now, it's crazy, the energy we're all getting. So no wonder we're feeling raw. Don't beat
Yeah.
yourself up about it, but absolutely do the inner work. Don't be too hard on yourself, um, because you're not actually doing anything wrong. You're not. Nobody
Yeah.
is.
I
We're
haven't.
just having the experience.
Yeah. I agree with that.
The
Or
higher
others.
self isn't suffering. Our higher self isn't suffering. It's observing it all. It's not in pain.
Yeah.
It's having the
No.
experience of this through the body.
Yeah. Yeah. And to me, that like that tenderness is like I got birthed. You know, like you're like
Wow.
a foal when a horse has or a filly has a foal and it comes out and it's all wet and that's what it feels like to me. And so like okay, so let me tell you, last year I remember we both were like, okay, September's the month of completion. September's the month of completion. And I don't even say stuff like that. This year, you know what I feel? I feel like October, November, and December are, in October, of course, is already gone, and everybody's been talking about it. But that these 3 months are like literally no BS, cleaning out the closet, like cleaning out that's it, like final preparation, especially for those that are going to be put into service that have been doing the work. And I really feel like that. Like it's like everything's in your face. Like you got to take care of this now. We're not going to let you run on this now. You've got to deal with it now. And I don't know.
That's my intel.
How do you see the
well.
last part of the year going?
Yeah. So basically what you've just said is exactly the data I've received in September and October. Okay. When I was in Menorca, I received lots of different data and higher experiences, and they seemed separate at first. And it was only after 3 weeks of it that it all became one great big picture. So one of the energies that I say I connect with, but I never go to the energy. It always comes to me and says, Mandy, you need to know this, or this is what you're going through now. So it's only now and again. And this energy came to me in Menorca and explained the whole of these next 3 months. Took about 20 minutes in beautiful peace, loving patience, explaining it. And the energy said that wanted to make sure it was my will, because we are descending, or it will feel like we're descending as a human being. It's very human. It will feel like we're descending until we get to solstice. And this isn't everybody, by the way. Everybody's at their stage of their consciousness. But there's some that are here and then others follow, because come solstice, a gateway opens, and those that are descending now will go through that gateway at the right time for them. So I was told to expect to go into complete doubt, to question every truth that I've learned on this ascension, that I wouldn't trust anyone or anything, including myself. I was told that there'd be great judgment. And I was told that all of what I've just said would be so great that it ends up in the human, the lower self, I'm going to call it, just to make the differentiation. It ends up with the human in such descent that they go through the living death of the lower self, because next year the higher self takes over completely for the ones that are ready. So the lower self has to die, and we do go through mini deaths through the ascension. Everybody does. I've been through several. But what we're talking about is the last stage of the ascension process. So somebody else's last stage might be next year or the year after, maybe. I don't know. I can't even see that far ahead. But the point I want to make, which is it's a huge thing. And this is why we end up, or will end up, experiencing this death of the lower self, is that we're all working on the distortions within us, the patterns, the things we didn't know, whatever they are. We're all going through different ones. But the last sorry, go for it. You speak, Todd.
No, go ahead. There's a lag. Go ahead. I thought you. No. Okay. You keep going. I only started because I thought you stopped. Keep going.
Okay. The very last thing we clear, after we've cleared all the different things that each of us have experienced in this lifetime, is judgment. And the reason that one is the last one.
Oh my God.
Right. It's so if you imagine, and I'm saying this for everybody, everybody's benefit, because I know there's a wide variety of people watch this stuff. The ascension goes through stages. So we've already visited judgment. We've visited it not after we awoke. When we awoke, we went into great judgment about 3D, all of us. And then we rise and we visit judgment. But then we rise in energy again and visit it again. So this is why when people look at their patterns, you don't look at a pattern once. You're going to rise and look at it again from a higher perspective and a higher wisdom. And then it will come again when you've risen further. So it's not that you're looking at one pattern, you've dissolved it, it's gone. No, it will come back, but you'll see it at an even higher level that you were blind to down here in the ascending process. So judgment gets looked at again and again. And we know in the spiritual community, all of us do, that it's the case of no judgment, no judgment. But the absolute truth, Todd, and everybody watching, is we agreed to be in a field of polarity. We're here, we're looking at that. We're here judging that. That is judging us. That's polarity. Yeah. And that's why it's the last to go, because right now on this descent, the one that wants, we will feel like we want to leave. That's what I've been told anyway. I'm not going to say that for everybody, but I've been told categorically, you're going to want to exit your body and leave the planet. Are you prepared for that? Though not those words, but kind of. Is it your will? And what makes us, or puts us into that descent of wanting to leave, is our own self-realization of what it's like to be judged, and what it's like to judge others. And we judge ourselves. So there's three things that happen right on that last stage of ascension, is that we experience the judgment of others upon us, whether it's true, false, doesn't matter. We still experience it at this human level. And we experience our own judgment upon ourselves, because we know we shouldn't be judging. We know it. I was going to say read the book, but I don't read, but we know we shouldn't be judging. But we're always judging ourselves, and we judge others.
Yeah, that's heavy, man.
I
can relate to this.
It's the hardest stage of the ascension, because it's the last stage, and it has to be hard, because how can we want to exit the lower self without it smacking us in the face? Our own judgment. It has to smack us in the face.
I know, and it's so, and I know, and this is really, you're right on the money, okay? Because so it's kind of like paradoxical, because like you think of mirrors, right? And we're always saying, okay, well, that's my mirror, like Morgan's my mirror, and I can see myself, and then there's the other side of it. You see the mirror, and I might look at you and see my divinity, my beauty, my grace, and so on. Or I might look at Morgan and see these different things or whatever. But then there's this other part, and that's what you're talking about. And I've seen people talking about this for the last 10 days. I've seen a bunch of memes about it. And what it is, it's exactly what you're saying. It's this judgment, right? This judgment that's been hanging in the air at all these different degrees for all these months in these light worker circles in our lives. And so So like, you know, I pull up people, and I've talked openly about this. I pull up people in my day who have pissed me the fuck off, okay? Who have gone out of their way to judge me and then gone out of their way to gossip about me, embellish, lie, whatever, whatever. And I know that's me. And I'm having judgment against them, which is so weird because it's like, oh, well, if they hadn't done that, then I wouldn't judge them. But the truth is, I'm judging them. I'm judging them. So I am the point of separation. It doesn't matter what they did because it's brought to light what I need to work out. Now, where it's causing a problem, I have always said, okay, I'm not going to say anything to these people. You know, I'm not going to say anything to them. You know, Jesus said, turn the other cheek. And I'm just going to, but there's something in me that keeps going, hey, you know what? Maybe you should say something. Now, I'm stuck between my own self-value and self-respect, okay, and being judgmental. And I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. And I'm watching other people talk about this. So it is a really big deal.
Yes, it is.
Ahead.
It's huge. And, you know, I want to reiterate that we all visit the subject of judgment at various stages of our ascension. I think, you know, unless this is the raw truth, okay, you know, it's time to be, it's time for the whole of this spiritual community to actually be real, you know, and not pretend. It doesn't mean you have to disclose your personal life or anything like that. But unless you're fully embodied, unless you are being and living as your higher self, which nobody is, because it hasn't happened yet. The galactic timeline has not presented that yet. We're so close.
What is that? What does that mean? You said that twice. I'm just because I'm not up to, what does that mean? The galactic timeline is not there yet. Can you? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. That's
to a dummy?
Yeah, is that if you think of consciousness, if you think of Gaia's consciousness, it's traversing. Our galaxy traverses around the grand central sun. Okay, so we're actually on a bigger timeline than our galaxy. It's not even a cycle, it's more of a spiral that keeps going. And what that does is it produces energies as we get closer to the central sun. It changes the energies, and this is why we're having so much electromagnetics to Gaia and to our human physical bodies, is because we're getting closer and closer. We're magnetizing back. So that is actually a timeline. The Mayans, if anybody reads up on the Mayan astrology, they follow exactly that cycle that I'm talking about. I don't follow it. I don't follow the Mayans too much, but I really resonate with everything that I do read about it. So we're always moving. We're always on a spiral back and back and back to source, really.
Yeah.
That's why 2012 was what it was. And more have awakened since then, because we're moving through the galactic timeline. We're always moving through it. So as we move through it, I call them light nodes, but there's gateways that switch on. I don't even associate with gateways anymore, even though I use the word. But as you go higher, you see things differently, and words that you did use, you no longer realize are quite accurate. But gateways open, which are actually light nodes that get switched on, which gives you access to your higher consciousness. And it's that hasn't presented yet in terms of a mass collective of human beings becoming their higher selves with a human body across the planet. And as they do it, more do it, and more do it, and more do it. Dominoes effect. There we go. Golden era, age of Aquarius. I hope that makes some sort of sense, because I'm just babbling now.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
I am.
I'm over here sitting in my underwear. So,
but okay, but, back to the judgment. It's really, it's the last part of the whole thingy. It's ascension. The judgment is the last one, and people can think, well, I sorted that last year, but it's the last one that goes so deep for you in self-realization that because you have to descend into the human. Can you hear me, Todd? Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me? Have I frozen?
Yes.
Can you hear me okay? Okay, great. You can hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Even we visit distortions again and again as we grow, as we rise in our frequency. We gain higher and higher wisdom. So we've already looked and know. Can you hear me okay, Todd?
Yes, I can hear you fine. It's delayed, but I can hear you fine. Keep going.
Okay. So we already are fully aware we shouldn't be in judgment. But the last point of each one's ascension is to dive and submerge so deeply back into the dream, into the illusion, that we're completely human. It's only through being that lower self human in the forgetfulness that we can see what we do to others and what we do to ourselves. Now, there's a reason why that's the last. Imagine then the death of the lower self. Why? Because the higher self is the one that comes in, and the higher self is the one that has always been responsible for this dream reality that you have, that I have, that everybody has. It's not till we take complete and utter responsibility for our thoughts, our actions, and our words, completely 100%, can the higher self be the consciousness that we then experience the body with. Because the higher self was always the master and the creator of all of this reality, always. So if you've got the lower self saying, no, actually, you're to blame. No, I criticize you because you're wrong. That lower self isn't taking responsibility for the dream that their higher self is creating all the time. So it's like we have to match our human ascending frequency, the ascending frequency of the lower self. We have to match that to reach the same as the higher self. And the only way we'll do that is if this takes full responsibility and doesn't blame that person or this person. Or doesn't criticize this person and doesn't say you're completely wrong, because the higher self is not doing that. If you want to be that higher self, it has to go. And that's why it's the last to go is the judgment, which is actually the whole experience in polarity. It's not that we've ever done anything wrong. We always knew this was going to be the experience to come out of, which takes back to what you were saying, which is that it's already done, because from our higher perspective, we already did it.
Yeah, but I love I love that explanation because it goes back to what I was telling you happens with me. And I know I'm not supposed to be in judgment. And I'm struggling, and I struggle with it because it keeps coming back. Certain people keep coming back. So I know that I'm trying to teach myself or something. But the fact is the fact is the fact. The bottom line is it doesn't matter what or who does whatever to you. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how bad of a victim you've been. It doesn't matter at all. We're still the point of separation. We are. And in other words, there are no exceptions. And that's what you're talking about. You
Yeah.
know, and that's actually what's happening is we're actually being forced to be pure in every moment and not substantiate our thoughts or our actions or because it feels good or I'm the exception because of somebody did something. There is no exception, period. None. Right. Now, the other thing that happened that's in line with what you're talking about. Oh my God, Amanda, you're just like, what are we doing right now? It's like some kind of big cosmic fireworks are going off, like something's happening. So one of the things that happened that's along the lines of what you're talking about is like two nights ago, Morgan and I commune every night. Everybody knows that. So when we went to commune a couple of nights ago, as we went to bed, we talked the next day. We both kind of went through the same thing. Now her version looked a little different than mine. Now mine was me in the field, and they were telling me that they were telling me judgment's got to go, like at a level I'd never seen before. And I was like, what? And it was like a montage. It was like one thing after another. So I'll give you an example. So like my humans having this conversation with my team, they're saying judgment has to go. I'm saying, I want to pick up the phone and call so-and-so and tell them, you know what? Remember that last year when you did that and you said that about my wife and you're talking all this shit about me? I just want to say, I love you unconditionally, but F off. And they're like, no, you can't do that. And I said, like, I know I can't do it. I'm just saying I want to do it. And they're like, okay, here's the deal. Anytime something pops up, look at it and if you're in judgment, say I'm in judgment. Okay. So then they started doing it. And I said to him, for instance, I said, okay, what are we doing here tonight? I need to surrender again, right? Okay. So I'll surrender my relationship with Morgan again, right? And they're like, okay, whoo, they elevate. I surrender this, whoo, elevate, elevate, elevate. And then it started getting into these more minute or the minutia of my thoughts. Like, in other words, I would say, okay, I'm willing to give this up to expand. And then I'd ask a question like, what are Morgan and I to each other? And they'd say judgment. And then it would clear. The field would clear. And the space of Todd and Morgan would get bigger, and then something else would happen. And they kept showing me how in these little bitty things, judgment was in everything. So I just started this exercise of it pops up. I'd say judgment. That's a judgment. I wouldn't say no judgment. I would just say judgment, judgment. And every time I would say judgment, the field would expand and it would be clear. And the only other way I can describe it is it was creating an energy of no thought. Like it was no thought. It was just, if I said that's judgment, it would disappear. And the whole field would get bigger and bigger and bigger. So I know it's huge. Yeah. Go ahead.
You've just said something that gave me a thought, Todd. Just because, we all have this guilt when we judge. And I actually feel, and people can disagree with this completely, and I honor that, but within the spiritual community, now that we've awakened and we read things here, there, and everywhere, there's always the thing that says no judgment, no judgment. So we all know that we shouldn't be judging, and yet that in itself, being told by there, no judgment, actually puts pressure on us, and then we hide our own judgment because we're thinking, oh no,
Yes.
I'm bad for judging, I shouldn't be doing that, I better not tell that person this because I'm judged, because out there is saying no judgment, you shouldn't be judging. It's the point is, it's like I say, let's get real. Every single human being on the planet judges. It's what we came to experience and transcend out of. And the truth is, when something in our dream, bearing in mind, you're creating your dream for you, Todd, your higher self is bringing that person into you for you to react to. So if somebody is brought into my dream by my higher self, how do I react? So it isn't about what they say to me, it's about how I react within myself. If I react from judgment, I've got something to look at within me.
Exactly.
I've got work to do on me. I can ignore what they've said. I mean, the initial reaction is to react to it and judge. But after you've done that, it's, hold on, what did I just do? I was in judgment. I've got work to do. This is my stuff. And then I go away into my quiet time. And the question is always, why did I react that way? What is there within me that is a distortion because I'm in forgetfulness? What is it in me that is in so much pain because of that? That is actually the divine gift the higher self has presented to us to observe ourselves reacting. We're not doing anything wrong. We're on our journey.
That's right. It's like we're actually enhancing creation. We're enhancing creation because we're making a more pure energetic formula. And the thing about the judging that you hit on that is probably the worst thing about the whole thing is when we say to ourselves, oh my God, I shouldn't be judging that person. We're actually throwing down more suppression on ourselves. We're not even affecting that person. We're affecting ourselves because we feel bad that we were in judgment. But you're right. It's like, okay, here it comes. I'm in judgment. And if we can look at it from a non-emotional level, almost like a scientific level, like, okay, I just need, what do I need to turn a little bit more or correct or raise the gauge on, what is it? And not look at it so personally. What I really got out of what I was going to tell you, what I really got out of this experience a couple nights ago was they told me, they said, look, you can actually go through your day like this, moment by moment by moment. And I said, what do you mean? They're like, you don't have to go through the stuff you've gone through in the past. You can, now this is maybe just for me, I don't know. But they said, every time you come across something and a thought appears, you say, is that a judgment? And if you say it's a judgment, then it clears and it's gone and your field will expand. And it became a very, for me, it became a very, like, I want to say like scientific approach that was less, there was no emotion and it was less personal. We take things personal. And when we take things personal, that means we're we're overvaluing or even valuing at all, which is probably the right way to put it, our identity. Like, oh, how could you say that to Todd Medina? Like, well, who the hell do you think you are, Todd? I mean, so we take it personal. There is no personal. There is no.
Yeah. And when we all of us take something personally, that is us immersed in our dream, being the human in forgetfulness. Because as we raise our frequency, we actually take things less and less and less personally, because we understand that at the higher frequency, those extremes don't exist. We're always, this is why we do the work, all the work that we do anyway on ourselves about this pattern and that pattern and that pattern. we're dissolving misperceptions of energy. And so as we dissolve it, we actually take things less and less personally. You know, it is that, you know, a person could take an action or say something. If I react from my humanness and forgetfulness, I could be hurt. I will be hurt. But as we go higher in our frequency, I can just allow that to be, because I've put that in my dream for me to react to. And so it is a transition. It's not that suddenly we take everything less personally. We have to kind of climb the steps through our own lessons and our own experiences of it. And we gradually take things less and less and less personally. Does it? And what happens in the reality is there's less and less presenting that we need to take personally and be offended by. Because our higher self, if we're cleaning up the house, if we're cleaning up the house, then that's exactly what happens, because the higher self is creating the reality all the time. I think there can be, again, this is a natural thing, completely natural, that we all submerge back into the dream. But there can be always a forgetfulness where we're so submerged in the dream, we're thinking it's all real and that person is separate to me and this person is and this person is.
And I think this self-judgment thing is the real big one. Like judging other people and creating separation from other people, we can ignore. Like you can say, okay, I love you unconditionally, and I'm not going to talk to you. And you go over here. Well, you're still in judgment of yourself. You may not be thinking about that other person, but you're still in judgment of yourself, and your body and your cellular and everything is taking that on. But I think that maybe we need to give ourselves a break a little bit, not like to go out in a free for all and like tell everybody what you think and all that. But what I'm saying is we're building this template. We're building this new blueprint. We're actually creating the way for whatever comes after us. And I don't just mean here on Earth. I mean, the whole galactic community is watching this. Like they're saying, what are they doing? Energetically, they're watching our patterns. This isn't like some predestined thing. The creation is always expanding. So what I'm getting at is let's not, let's understand that self-judgment is the most, I guess the wrong word, but damaging to us. It's the most debilitating to us. It's going to be suppressing us the most. It's going to keep us, it's going to keep us unconscious. So I think that the other thing is if, and I've seen people go both ways. They're like, I went and told somebody something and it felt good, or I haven't said anything and I don't feel good. Sometimes you got to try things. And I think the main thing to remember is once it's done, it's done. And say, okay, I gave it a shot. It worked. I gave it a shot. It didn't work. And I think the other thing where we can help ourselves, and it sounds like we're helping other people, but where we can really help ourselves is when we can go to people and say, you know what? I screwed up. I said this about you, or I was wrong, or whatever it is, without any expectation from their reaction. I think a lot of times we don't do it is because we think they're going to go, I told you, I told you you're lesser than me, and I think we're afraid to do it. But I think if we have the balls to go in and say, hey, you know what? This is what I think. This is why. And I apologize. And not get into an extenuous conversation, because that just messes everything up. But just to lay it out there. We're moving one thing's for sure, we're moving and expanding into and creating a direct communicative energetic field. So it's telepathic or verbalized. The best thing we can do is state our truth. And you know what, Amanda, I could state something to you right now, and we could have a conversation for another hour. And in an hour, I'm going to have to reframe what I said. because I've changed. You've changed. Our relationships changed. I had an epiphany. I had a revelation. You said something and it expanded me or whatever. It's okay. The truth changes. We change, you know, it's okay.
What I've noticed with judgment is, you know, when we're judging the outside and the dream, that's actually part coming from our ego mind. When we're judging ourselves, there's and I'm talking about this at a very human level rather than an energetic level. But when we're judging ourselves, there's something for us to look at that lacks self-worth, which actually is also ego. Ego is lacking its own self-worth. So it's judging itself. The highest thing any of us can do with any of these situations, no matter how they played out initially, it is to go within and reach a place of genuine, pure love within us and dissolve it that way. That's the greatest thing we can do, is do the work and see, why did I react this way? See why we did, and then let it go with love. If we hold on to it, we're not dissolving that energy that was presented for us to see through.
Yeah.
There's always a gift to every single experience if we just go within, but it's always to let it go with love. If we just hold on to it or silently walk away in anger, it's going to come back through another person's situation or event.
That's right. That's right. Eventually, we're going to be standing in the corner by ourselves. But we've been talking about this. But what you're talking about today is this deeper level. Like, we thought we were done with all this. We thought we were done with all that. I do believe it's the last thing, because it is, judgment is separation. If I say that person's tall, then I'm saying, what about myself? I mean, everything, every time we make a judgment, it's some level of separation or attachment or resistance. You know what I mean? Like, I go through this with Morgan. We have given up each other so many times, right? On different levels. And we get in there and we lay down, and that's the first thing we'll say. Are you guys willing to surrender everything and give? And we're like, even each other? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, here we go. You know, and you get shot up and everything gets expanded. But if I think to myself, you know, like Morgan said to me the other night, I am not your twin. Well, I never said she was. You know what I mean? She goes, I am not your twin. And I'm like, but why? And I'm thinking to myself, okay, are you attached to not being a twin? And then I'm talking about her. And then I'm talking to myself going, and are you attached to wanting to be an infinite twin? You know, like this. So there's this complex, deep conversation that we all have. And they kept telling me, that's a judgment. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. And what's happening is, every time you wipe that out, every time you say that's a judgment, it's irrelevant, it doesn't exist, the field becomes really pure and clear. And that's the state that we're starting to get, is like knowing and being, and like creation being totally freed up. Like, she wrote a post yesterday, and it was from the communion we had when she channeled it back in, and it said, creation must be free to create. And if you think about it, fractals or whatever you want to call us, what are we? We're made in the image. We are literally creation. Creation is in motion. It's not a stagnant thing. So how can love grow? How can creation seed? It has to be free. It has to be sovereign. And that's really what I'm getting at in my own processing, is that sovereignty. I did a spirit walk on it a couple of nights ago, and I'm like, what is sovereignty? Sovereignty is I am soul. Sovereignty is that nothing has power over me unless I allow it to. Sovereignty means I'm a creative, free flow, energetic manifestation, energy, you know, just I'm constantly creating. I like that. I think we all like that. I think we all like when we're a part of something and it's expanding and building and growing, you know, without the control mechanisms and all that. But you know, I'm noticing,
so it's like the two parallels.
a lot of resonance with what you and a couple other people have been writing, in that this, yeah, like this whole thing, this whole final piece, and really final piece, like where you can actually coexist and cohabitate without judgment. And we're seeing, like in my own experience, I see little elevations of it. I see, and it's really weird because nothing has to be said, nothing has to be explained, everything's understood. The minute you start doing that, it starts to get skewed, right? But what I'm seeing that you and others are writing is that we are prepping, you know, or my feeling is that we're prepping to get put to work. And it all adds up to 2020. I'm not saying I'm accurate, or I'm just saying that's my opinion. I just want to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Is the last part of each's ascension process. We all have different storylines of how we get there, but the process is exactly the same for each one. We're doing this collectively. After that last stage, it's the death of the lower self. We experience after that, and the next part I'm not going to give a timeline to, but I am saying 2020 for when I get through the explanation of it, is after going through this excruciating part where you feel so broken that you'll want to leave. You're killing, in a sense, the lower self, the human in forgetfulness. That's what's going, so that the higher self comes in. What happens after the living death is a rebirth, which is an energy that you experience comes into your body, and you go through a rebirth. My understanding of it, only because we have several mini rebirths in our ascension process anyway. If I take it from that, the rebirth is a 3-day period. What I was told, and this is really relevant, I feel it's becoming more and more and more relevant in the last couple of weeks. After the rebirth, there's a period of time that unfolds the way the ascension flows. So you know the way we all go through it and it just flows along. There's this period of time where we embody and embody and embody and embody energies which we could call, and I don't like this label, but I don't know what else to call it, Christed energy. Okay, it's an energy that we settle into gradually, that is balanced, that is peace, that is harmony, because the death of the lower self has happened. Now, I was told in September by the energy I spoke about all of this, and he said that it would be a very gradual embodying of this Christed energy until, so it happens, you know, day by day, week by week, until, and this is the key part, at some stage in that, there is an absolute sudden shift in consciousness. It's instant, it's sudden, and your consciousness, instead of feeling like you're a human being and your consciousness is kind of in your brain, your consciousness is your higher self that is outside of this field of time, space, gravity. It's outside, observing the body, which is where we've been heading all along. Now, even though I say that, I was given that information late September, early October in Menorca by that energy. And do you know what, Todd? Since then, 2 people have mentioned the same instant moment, and they didn't know the information I was given. So I received a voice message, a lovely recording from a friend a few weeks ago saying, Mandy, I've had this information. What do you think? I'd already had the same info. And then, you know, Paul Dobry-Carey, you've had him on your show. He's an Englishman, lives in Thailand. He's awakened. Paul
Dobry-Carey.
Carey, yeah.
Paul W. Curie.
He wrote a post only this week, and in it he talks of the instantaneous moment where the consciousness changes completely. It's an instant. And so there's two people that didn't know what I'd received, and they're saying exactly the same thing, and they've received it. When the consciousness suddenly changes, there's no fear. There's no, oh my God, what's happening to me? It's completely natural to your experience. Now that, in terms of that final, it's not a final part, it's the start of collaboration. It's the start of service in full oneness, actually being it. Because you're your higher self then. And that part I actually see being 2020, that part where the consciousness switches off from the lower consciousness and into the higher field of singularity, and yet it's still got the body. It's observing the body, it observes the world, and it observes human beings and everything in it on the solid, in the solid reality.
And then like you said, like, what is a sign? And a sign is like the flow, like, it's like the energetic motion and pattern of the human. And what I'm getting at is what you said earlier. I'm just connecting the dots. Co-creation and collaboration with no agenda. So that sounds like a frame up or something, but it's not. What I'm trying to say is there's an energy of codependency that we've all come from. And that energy is all over the place. Business dealings, marriages, relationships with children, all these different things, right? And so we work through that. But there's the other side of it, and that's the energy of collaboration and co-creation without agenda. It doesn't fit in the old paradigm, but it's a frequency, it's an energy. And to me, that shows the presence and the cooperation of the higher selves. And I'll give you an example. So like last night, this guy had written me. He had written me, and he's been an audio editor, I don't know what you call it, engineer, for many, many years in New York City, and worked with a lot of famous people. He wrote me this letter, and he said, "Hey, I'd like to help you somehow." I'm like, okay, well, maybe this is something that's going to help. So we had a conversation. Now in the conversation, I said, I don't know, this is what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for anything, but man, I have to spend a lot of times editing video and downloading and uploading. And then he kind of cut me off, and he said, this is what I do. I do audio. I do voiceovers and radio commercials and intros into shows and all this stuff. And I said, okay, I get it. But my point is at no time and I wasn't conscious of this. I got off the phone. I was telling Morgan what happened, and we were having a conversation like we're having right now. And I said, that's weird. Let me tell you what just happened. So during that conversation, you had two people come together. Neither one of them was pushing an agenda. Like, I didn't try to force a square peg in a round hole, and he didn't either. He didn't say this, though, can you do this? Or can you do this? Or he didn't do that. He said, this is who I am. This is what I do. I said, this is who I am. This is what I do. There wasn't a fit. And we kind of left it like, hey, you know what? Let's leave this door open because maybe something will come from it. But there was no controlling. There was no possessing. It was this. And I remarked to her afterward, I thought, we're just talking about the same type of thing. I said, you know what? I just had a conversation like that. And it was so subtle that I almost missed it. But to your point, this consciousness shift produces instantaneous results.
Yeah. Because for several reasons. We don't have to wait
like a month and 2 months and 1 year.
No, for several reasons. Because if you imagine, or if everybody imagines right now being that higher self, there's no time. Everything is now. The higher self was always the one that we didn't see masterminding this this play, this dream reality, this film that we've been experiencing in forgetfulness. But the higher self isn't submerged in the illusion of time. It isn't. It doesn't exist in the. This is why when it happens, your consciousness feels here. It doesn't feel in the body, because your consciousness actually isn't in the solid reality. We just think it is.
Right.
So
That's
when
right.
we become the higher self, we're in a field of no time. We create instantly. We literally, because we've remembered what we are. We are the manifestors. We are the masters of the whole of this reality. I'm the master of mine. You're the master of yours. So to be honest, how it's going to be, I'm really going to say it, it's going to be so different. I hold back so much sometimes because I never want to offend anyone. But, in the spiritual community, I never want to hurt people. But how it's going to be when you've got hundreds and thousands of people that have become that higher consciousness, it's going to be so different to anything we have now. These are the stepping stones to get us there. So
that's a good point.
Your gifts, and then the next person's gifts, and the next person's, you're going to receive direct information because you are your higher self. Then you will know exactly what to give. That person will know exactly what to give, and I will know exactly what to give. This is why I have never created a business. I've done this for 5 years. I was told when I awoke, don't create anything, because whatever you create won't exist when you're fully embodied, because we won't be creating using this brain. We'll be creating from the consciousness that doesn't it will use the brain for the mechanical processes of, moving here and there, etc. But it's the consciousness that creates. It doesn't have a brain like the human brain. It is energy, and all it does is bring in the energy it wants to create. It can do that. That's what it's done all along here in the dream reality.
Yeah,
it's going to be very, very, very different.
It's that
yeah.
So somebody wrote a note yesterday.
Pure.
God, I read so much stuff. Yeah. Yes. And the thing is, and that's that space I'm talking about. That's that space that they're showing me. It's like no judgment. There's no judgment. I mean, it's clean. It's pure. There, and it's like a it's like a alchemic bowl that's like creating something. But what was I going to tell you? Somebody said something to me along the lines of what you were just talking about, and I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh, yeah. So like, okay, so it's like that spontaneous, intuitive, creative, imaginative space. There's no filter, holding out some of the purities. So it's like everything you can't plan and you can't strategize. And I love what you were told about the business thing. Even that, like we were told 2 nights ago, you have to give up, and it's not out of the ordinary, but it was at a deeper level. You have to give up Sology. You have to give your concept up of this and concepts. That was the big word for me. If it was a concept, there's a judgment, right? If there's a concept of, say, a divine conscious union, that's a judgment. That's actually restricting the possibilities of that particular energy to expand and become something, whatever it may be, and that's why what really drives it home to me has been with the whole Sology deal, because each time I try to put it together, it blew up. And now I can see where you just keep doing your thing. And like you said, the people, that people will show up for each other. inherently knowing what they have to offer because they're in alignment with what their purposes are. And like, where
Yeah,
do I fit
and
in? And
energy
I
will
can already
match
see it
energy.
happening.
Yeah, because what we're moving into, it's
Yeah.
it's more sentience. So what we're becoming is the knowing that we are energy. And so instead of thinking, I'm talking about when we become the highest self with still retaining the body. Instead of thinking, oh, I'd love to do this with so and so, or this is a great idea. Instead of thinking it, we just hold the vibration. Because every single
Yeah.
I'm getting so much data personally about energy and vibration because that's my path, and we just align our vibration. Our higher self is doing it all the time. It's always bringing in vibrations and vibrations. So
Yeah.
but not to negate what you are doing and what each are doing out there now, because it serves an absolute purpose. Without all the work that people do that they give out, so many would feel even more lost and even more alone. And it's not even that people have to be out in the open about their awakening, their spirituality, but they can help just by walking down the street and giving a smile to someone, because everything is energy, everything is vibration. All we're doing in our human forgetfulness is defining everything, and there is no definition. That's the truth of it. You're right, Todd. It is beyond this linear reality and this polarity of this is this and this is that over there. There's no definition. It's just all vibration and energy. So what you're doing is helping people feel less alone, helping them understand. But the people that aren't out in the open, they can help every single moment or every day, just by listening to someone for 5 minutes, just by giving someone a hug. It's all energy. I was with my mother yesterday, and she's in a care home, and it's for dementia, Alzheimer's. And this lady, an elderly lady, just put her hand out to me. She was sitting down, and her face, she was in so much turmoil, and she was just like this. And you have to be careful with people with Alzheimer's, because they can reach their hand out and you go forward and they'll smack you in the face. You have to be quite discerning. And wow. So I thought about being smacked in the face or kneeling down, and I knew I had to kneel down. And she was in such turmoil inside her body, and I felt her soul, and she still reached for the hand. So I got both my hands and I held this one hand she had, and that whole energy changed, and she just went like this to me. And she couldn't speak too much, but do you know what she said? She said, that's what I needed. So she couldn't communicate what she needed because of her dementia. I just did that one tiny thing, and it gave her what she needed. And I knew when I knelt there that her soul was creating that for her, to help her on her passage, on her journey. That's how simple it gets. It's just being the difference. You can tiniest thing wave into someone, but coming from that authentic nature, not this pretend stuff that is learnt, but actually just coming from your heart in your genuine love and care, and just watch it unfold for you and the people that you affect. My face is burning
Yes.
up, you know, Todd. It's the energy.
Exactly. That's because yes, man, I know. My body's like, I keep shedding all this metal. God, you know, in my body, I can smell it when I sweat, and I'm like, my hair gets sweaty, and I'm like, what is that? Like, I need to go to the doctor, but I
Metal.
realize, because I tap into my body, and it says it's metal. You're like detoxifying, like at warp speed, you know.
It's a good point to
Yeah,
mention.
and you know, this reminded me of something
Yeah.
else that happened. It actually happened when I was in Sedona, and I don't mean to. I'm not naming names, and I hope whoever was involved, if they hear it, they don't get upset with me, because I don't mean it that way. I mean it constructively. So, like, you know, we put a collaboration together. We had a gathering over there. We had different people perform, and one person came up to me and said, "So and so asked me to collaborate with them, and I need to know whether they're pure or not, because I'm pure." And I thought, and a big light went off in my head, and I thought, okay, how well do I know this person? Like, do I need to tell this person what I'm feeling here? Like, I mean, like, but it really wasn't even about the person or the people. It was about my own understanding at that point, how we can suppress our own creative energy, which is love, you know, when you think about it. Like I'm making these restrictions in my head, like, I'm not going to do that. I would never do that. You know, I would never borrow money to expand Sology. I've done it 3 times. You know, I would never do this. And it's like these never things, they're just bullshit. You know, there really are these things that hold us down and limit us and suppress us. I think that, like you were saying earlier, I think that's the real gift. Broder Bilal, the last time he was on, I think it was the last time, he went into this thing, like this channel, like this thing, and he said, and he was in such gratitude and reverence for what we're discussing and what we are. And he said, I am so grateful for the limitations I've been given. And I understood it in that moment. I was like, oh, wow. That's exactly what you're talking about with the judgment and duality. He was like, I am so grateful. And he was speaking it as a higher aspect of himself in that moment. He was saying, I am so grateful for the limitations. And I thought, wow, that's it. You know, that's it. And that's what I'm talking about with my 2 friends in Sedona and myself. Like I realize now, hey, there's certain things I would like to do. And why haven't you done them? And I start digging in and digging in and digging in. And it's like fear. It's like fear of my own power, or fear of what someone's going to think. I'm thinking, are you serious, knucklehead? After all this time, you're actually going to go there? But that is the gift, you know? The gift is like saying, okay, I realize this, like you were saying earlier, I realize this now. And now what? There's another side to it. You know, there's another side to the coin there. So I don't know. I'm looking at these things as more and more like gifts. I didn't used to, like when Morgan and I would work on my shadow or whatever, I'd be like, you know, cutting and or cussing and kicking and, you know, complaining. But now I see it. And when they come in, like when things come in now, I'm like, okay, we're going to have a shift here. Even if you feel like throwing up, you know?
Yeah. I mean, in the moment, if we're immersed in our dream, if we're right in it, in the moment, it's not going to feel like a gift. Yeah. But that's the design of it all. It's designed that way. So, but the key is to see how I react, see how you react, and then in your quiet time away, well, why did I react that way? Why was I triggered? Because if any one of us are triggered, there's work to be done on ourselves. That is it. It That's literally right. is it. That's exactly. And if we do that, we dissolve it and empower ourselves. And that is why this person and this person, this person was presented to us, was to see our own reaction and dissolve the distortion.
Yeah. And these really close and to trust relationships.
Yourself. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. And these really close relationships, they're like a fast track, aren't they? They're like, anyone, and it could be platonic or romantic or what, when you're really tight with somebody and you're really, really in a unified field, really,
I
it's not
think
like
the
perfection, but
close
you have like a lot
relationships are
of
the most
unified
beautiful.
energy.
Yeah, most
Yeah.
beautiful gift I could ever experience whilst I've got this human physical vessel. We're in this solid
Yeah.
form, and whether they're friends or partners, those close relationships allow us to explore ourselves at such greater and greater, deeper, more intimate levels that we never get to experience when we're just talking to the person down the street, or when we're answering a question by somebody in the community. They're the absolute gifts, and I thank God for them all. I really do, for sure.
It's like being in a laboratory of love. Let's try love. Let's see if we can make more. So was it your mom's birthday? Was it your mom's
she
birthday?
was 88 on
And
Tuesday.
88 years old. And what's her name? What's her name?
Flo. Flo.
Flo.
Or Florence.
Okay.
Yeah.
Florence. Okay.
Yeah. Bless her.
So I want you to show this to her. Okay. So this is going to be hang on, I'll tell you right now. So Florence, this is going to be at the 1 hour and 26-minute mark. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. A happy birthday, dear Florence. Happy birthday to you. So I just wanted to sing happy birthday to your mom and publicly tell everybody how much I love you, how much Morgan and I love you, how I can't even begin to tell all the stories about all the dimensional and interdimensional and human to human experiences we've had. But thank you so much for the work that you do and having the courage and the devotion to do what you do. You help so many people, and you help me. And I just want to say on behalf of everybody, thank you. And thank you for coming in today. Hopefully we can spend some, maybe the three of us can connect
can I say, first of all, thank you for that beautiful singing, which I will definitely play, Mom. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. I hope some of this has helped. Can I also just, as a parting thing, is because I'm getting a lot of messages from people saying I'm not sure whether to speak to someone about this, or I'm not sure whether I should get outside help about that. So it's like people they're knowing that their power is within them and that their answers are within them, but they're just kind of teetering on, well, should I ask outside of me? Should I ask inside of me? And the thing that your higher self is always pushing and pushing and pushing you to do is to go quiet and look beyond what is happening in this reality. Just look beyond, take it further, stretch yourself to look at why you're feeling this way or that way. If you don't know the answer to a question, do you need to know the answer? Why are you asking the question? Ask yourself things like that is, well, why do I need to know that? And your answers are already within you, and that's how you can empower, because people can help you on the outside, but they can't do it for you. And it's like a muscle, a weak muscle. The more you flex it and try and find the answers within, the stronger that muscle gets, until you become so reliant on yourself, and it just grows and grows and grows. And what is that doing? It's bringing in the higher self. So trust yourself, trust your own journey. Your own perceptions are always going to be so different to everybody else's. Everybody's got their own perception. There's no right or wrong perception. but just trust your heart, and keep going, because these are just amazing times for the whole of us. And I love you all with all my heart, always.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah. And we'll see you in 2020 in the physical somewhere. I don't care if it's on a
it feels
spaceship.
like
We're gonna do it
2020.
somewhere. We're gonna.
I don't know where.
It's gonna be all right.
I don't know where or
all right.
when.
You take care.
God bless
you.
Yeah. Love to Morgan.
Yeah.
And love to everybody. Keep going. Bye, Todd.
No, it's coming. It's coming. We have too much. Yeah. All right. You take care. All right. See you later. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Todd.
See y'all
Thank
later.
you, Todd.
Thank you, Amanda.